Here we go. Okay, so I've got some upcoming episodes on Malcolm Bendal and the plasmoid research and things. Obviously, part three to Rendlesham Forest, where I give you my thoughts on it and some other bits about it. But I thought I'd treat you to this. So, the book is End Without End. That's the series that I'm writing, and the first book in the series is Rise of the Soul. Here we go. Just before I get on with this, I just want to say everything you think you know, forget it. Screw that wad of knowledge you have accumulated and put it in the bin, because the truth is so unattainable that sometimes even I struggle to perceive it. Now, with that in mind, I'll do my best. So here we go. Long before any realms, dimensions, even our universe as we know it existed, there were the Gaia Valons. Beings made of pure Hadron energy, gods, if you will, created themselves by an entity called Levran. Levran created 4 powerful Gaia Valan called Gaianites to watch over his realm, each more powerful than the next. One of the Gaianites was near Levran's equal, a son in our terms, called Narvel. There was no time or space, well, as we understand it, in Levran's realm, but the beings in it are real, I can assure you. They are just like you and I and every other conscious entity. They have feelings, desire, love, power. So it is no surprise that then some of the Gaia Valan were led astray. The leader behind this was an entity called Salavan, a creation of Narvel himself, a sort of cult formed, if you will. They planned to perform a ritual of merging their energies to become Gaianites themselves. 26 Gaia Valan were needed, including Salavan, for this process to work. Levran found out about this merger only when it was too late and finally taking place. He managed to stop it before it was fully completed. Fortunately for you, me, and every other living being to have ever existed and yet to exist, the resulting explosion of energies from this intervention somehow, with cosmic force mumbo-jumbo, created a new realm, the Ki-Ra, outside the Gaiaverse. This formed the kind of barrier between all other realms and dimensions formed after this ceremony these Gaia Valan took part in. But after the merger, all 26 were changed. They split to become millions of smaller entities, with pieces of themselves scattered, making a whole new being, with a connection to each other. No longer filled with the Hadron energy of the Gaiaverse, but a new energy of pure life, what we would consider to be dark or antimatter, and no longer resembled the Gaia Valan. Not that I can actually tell you what they look like, because even my mind can't wrap my head around their size or power. The Cause, as they now called themselves, fled from Levran and Narvel through the Ki-Ra. Thinking themselves to be free, as Levran couldn't follow them, they began to create life within themselves and within their new dimensions surrounding them. Narvel was ordered by Levran to find a way to follow his twisted children to get them back any way possible. He was helped by Gailan Vesa, one of the other Gaianites, and Laguna Vesa, his daughter, to get through to our dimension. The only way of entering our realms is through a structure called a Nova Shard, where they can put and inhabit some of their consciousness. These structures are so massive that around nearly all of them, a kind of planetoid has formed when entering our universes or dimensions. I myself have been charged with relaying you these stories, now thought to be myth, of a 6th-level race, depending on which realm you're reading this in. My name and who I am isn't important yet. Just know that I'm a traveller of the realms myself. These pages I write are to document events, so that one day you may know the truth of our universe. The answers are in these books, and others that follow. And no, unfortunately, it's not as simple as the answer just being 42. I've checked with beings in the know. So here is the first story which we will read. We start around the middle, I suppose, from my perspective, and the beginning for those of you who are reading this. Here is a quote from an old friend. Your free will is the greatest gift given to you. Use it wisely. Bad dreams. Arjun tossed back and forth, restless in his sleep. Visions of destruction and chaos ran through his mind. Voices called to him. Arjun, you are mine. Don't listen to him. It's your choice. Father, can you hear me? He's mine. Arjun, please save us. Believe me, I don't want to be here. His consciousness was pulled back through a dark fog filled with golden lightning. As he shot backwards faster through nebulas and stars and galaxies, and the mycelial network like a brain pulsing with pain and energy. He was smashed through the outer barrier of something that felt dark and silent. Everything went cold for a moment. Then colour like he had never seen before in geometric patterns started to form, kaleidoscoping into a tunnel. As he fell through the tunnel into open space, filled with these patterns, the magnificent colours were slowly masked by a vision of what he could only imagine to be a universe, and many others. The place that he had just come from. It was slowly being ripped apart. Pain screams filled his mind. Suddenly silence once more, as the universe was joined by millions more exploding in this weird place he found himself watching from a bridge. The collapsing now multiple universes started folding into one mass, forming some kind of a face he'd never seen before, writhing out of the swirling masses of energies filling the whole of Arjun's vision. Suddenly a voice called out, "We need to stop him! Now!" He felt a presence grab him on the shoulder. "I'm coming to help, I think." He turned. A being shrouded in light next to him pointed to a massive entity forming in front of him. He felt a wave of energy, looking back at the twisted kind of face. The eyes of the entity burned with swirling universe. It hurt Arjun to look at it. "You are mine!" it screamed. Arjun sat bolt upright in his sleeping pod, banging his head on the curved alcove roof. "Oof!" he let out, rolling himself out of the pod as the light slowly illuminated his chamber. "Are you okay, Arjun?" a voice spoke out of the air. He cleared his throat as he slowly stood rubbing his head. I'm fine, Draga." He looked at his arm where he'd been grabbed. There were red marks. He rubbed them away, trying to shrug it off. He made his way to an illuminated crystal panel, which had a recessed shelf underneath it. "And Draga, water, please." A small glass container materialized with water inside it. He reached for it and took a good swig. "Do you know what these visions mean, Arjun?" Draga asked, who almost spat the water back out over the chamber. I've told you to stop watching my dreams," he said, wiping his mouth of water with his left hand. "Sorry, Arjun, but our link is strong, and when we are together I feel these dreams. They feel like more." "I'm sure that's all they are, Draga. Just dreams," Arjun said, glancing back at his arm. The panel in front of Arjun slowly pulsed with dim golden words came back to him. "I know you feel it too. You cannot hide your thoughts from me. It came from somewhere. I felt a presence for a brief moment." "I know you're right," he said, letting out a sigh, sitting in a chair that slowly formed out of the floor next to a large oval viewport, out of which stars and beautiful colours could be seen streaming by. "But what should I do? The last mech to have visions like this disappeared." Arjun gestured with his hands in air quotes. "You can't let anyone know of this." Draga's voice softened. "I would never betray you, Arjun. I'm sure you're aware of that by now, with the things that me and you have done together. We are joined as Castevarian. I would never, ever betray your trust." "Thank you, Draga. I know. I know we've done a lot of things together, and I know you would never, ever let me down." "Never, Arjun. We will figure this out together." "Okay. I promise I will tell you the second I know what's going on in these dreams." He could feel Draga's love for him as she spoke back. "I will keep an eye out for you from any more incursions into your dreams with these visions." "Thank you, old friend." Arjun smiled, his slight reflection gazing back at him at the viewport as the nebula bird passed. Anyway, what's going on? How far from the research station are we?" "We are 15 Quinari from the research station. Val is currently on the node deck. Tell him I'll be up shortly." "As you command." The panel on the wall stopped glowing as Draga headed off and left Arjun to his thoughts. Arjun turned back to rushing streaks of stars speeding past the huge ship. The Dragashan was sweeping through the mycelial network to their destination. She was around 1,000 meters long and nearly 400 meters wide at her largest point. 4 massive tentacles spread out from underneath the ship, splaying backwards underneath a solid curved shell that splayed round beautifully to meet a plate of crystal at the rear. Beautiful bioluminescent green pulsing energy could be seen released at the front as it eases around the ship with an eerie glow. Propelled through the mycelial to transit great distances quickly, called Dimensional Movement Transit, or DMT. At the top of the shell was a small protrusion that shows the node deck, A translucent lens which arcs across the front of the ship follows a natural curve and shields this area. A few moments after he woke, Arjun stepped up onto the node deck from the ascender to the right of a small hall-like chamber, and he approached a rising command chair. "I'll take it from here," he nods to Val as he walks past. Draugr comes out of DMT, and the multi-section shell rippled with bioluminescent energy once more, which turned into kind of spores that dissipated into space. With a flick of her tentacles, Draugr shears forwards, rapidly approaching the solar system. "The joy that is Karov. You have no idea how delicate these vials are." Karov waved his hands at the Mirasian assistant in the lab, stumbling as he was carrying a large cylinder of sealed vials. "Do you want to wipe out your entire species?" he bellowed. "Just put them down and move back." He stepped forward and took the large cylinder of vials off the counter and placed it in a vacuum chamber at the other side of the lab, sealing it as he stepped out. Sorry, Commander. I will endeavour to be steadier." "Make sure you do, you careless Tukmach," Karov snapped, with an insult to the Mirasian assistant, who stepped back a few paces with a look of fear in his face. "Don't forget why you were created. Now go tend to the new cargo arriving with the Draugr, if you can manage not to kill us all on the way." Zedrus, Karov first let out a stifled laugh. Karov held a fierce look on his face, not turning to look at Zedrus. The Mirasian assistant, who stood a few feet shorter than Karov and was around 8 foot tall, just stared back at him with a blank expression that could win any kind of poker game. "Are you deaf as well as stupid? Go!" He looked at the other few Mirasians unloading the new equipment into the lab. Karov quickly gave around with his eyes and focused back on the assistant. "Something to say?" He looked back up at the commander. "No, Commander." He gave a small salute. A slight smile creaked out, but only for a second as he turned to leave. Karov turned and saw Zedrus giving him a slightly puzzled look. "What's wrong with you?" "Oh, nothing," Zedrus replied with a smile. "I just can't remember the last time you said something that amusing." "Well, I'm in a good mood, my friend, can't you tell?" He smiled. A crack of a purple vein showed through his lightly tanned skin as he did. "Kar, your face," Zedrus whispered. Kar rubbed his cheek, and the colour started to fade. "Damn dark matter," he said as the two Mirasians looked over to him. "All of you, out of the lab. Go and unload the Draugr when it arrives." He turned and walked off towards the station set out around the back of the large laboratory. "Arjun, we're receiving landing coordinates from the new outpost," Val relayed. "I see it." Arjun spoke from the command node. A golden chair that had rose up from the ground, made from the ship itself for Arjun to view space in front of him and connecting to Draugr. "Take us in," he spoke to Draugr, who made a sweeping arc towards the second planet in the system. Its dense atmosphere and inhospitable temperature meant it was perfect for keeping out at the outpost hidden. With no indigenous life, it would stop any biocontainment from getting out as well. Draugr started its descent down, swooping into the planet's atmosphere. A light fiery glow lit up the hull. Draugr drew in her large tentacles as the heat of the entry built up. Suddenly they broke through into thick clouds of sulfur and methane, a few miles or so thick. On a large view screen that ran down in front of the node deck, Draugr showed a heat vision of the map of the surface below. "There it is," Arjun spoke, pointing out a small mountain range just off in the distance of the barren world. "Have Laz go to the cargo deck and ready the materials for unloading." "Yes, my prince," Val answered, touching a raised crystalline platform in front of him. Coming in around the large range of mountains circling to find the hidden entrance, which appeared as an outline on the view screen in the rocky face of the mountain. Draugr slowed, moving into position a few 100 feet away from the outpost entrance. Her huge tentacles spread out below and touched the ground, which crumpled below the crushing weight of the colossal beast as it settled. A section under her belly slowly lowered as it made itself a ramp from the scales leading into the cargo area. A group of Mirasians came out from the slowly opening hidden bay doors, followed by two larger Orangaya in traditional half armor. "Val, you watch over Draugr. I'm going to tell Riken the good news." He smiled, and he stood up straight by the node chair, and then disappeared slowly down to the floor. Arjun turned and made his way to go to the cargo area. Stepping out into the stinking air, Arjun waved his hands in front of his face. "Why can't research labs be on nice planets like Gonduzi or Idern?" he said, approaching Lazartus. I've smelled worse. We could be dealing with the Eurasians again, he laughed. One of the Eurasians approached Arjun wearing a tight-fitting metallic-looking armour, holding her perfect humanoid curves. A dark visor retracted back into her helmet to reveal her beautiful eyes behind a force field in the open section of her helmet, still holding back the toxic air. My prince, you never said you were coming here, she smiled. Frey, he held a hand out to her. I thought I'd surprise you guys. Well, I'm glad to see you as always, she said with a slight bow, taking his hand. We can catch up on the way back to Narvel, he smiled at her, as they walked down the ramp, letting go of each other as they turned. To Narvel? She said, looking at him with wide eyes. Did I hear Narvel? A voice came through the mist of cloud. Yes, Riken, you heard right, Arjun shouted out. By Zeus, it's about time. If I had to spend one more day here, I'd rip Karov's head off his shoulders and shove his leaving cast up his ass. Riken's fists were clenched, and his face was subtly glowing with golden Hajan energies, as his anger couldn't help but let out. Come here, you big wok, Arjun said with open arms, cutting him off short. Has he been upset at my first? And Frey started laughing along with Laz. Yes, he has. Riken couldn't help but smile as an embracing Arjun lifted him off the floor. It's good to see you too, Arjun managed. Put me down, he joined, laughing the others. You said we get to go home? Yes, once we've unloaded the new pulsar cannon, you'll be heading back to take part in the games with me. Arjun patted him on the shoulder. The games? So soon? Riken said excitedly, turned to Pharaoh, who was behind him. That better include me, she said, giving Arjun a stern look. Of course, my Kinshan. As if I would leave you out, he said, embracing her, as she pushed Riken to one side. Good, because without me you have no chance in the Zero-G wrestling, now do you? She laughed, standing back away from Arjun. Come, let's get this stuff unloaded so we can get the elk out of here. Riken gestured to the Eurasians at the bottom of the ramp, who started to make their way up. We'll catch up later then, Frey said with a smile, as she turned to make her way to the others in the cargo bay. Yes, he smiled back, catching a funny look from Riken. Yes, Riken said sarcastically. Oh, shut it, you, giving Riken a jab in the ribs. Where's Karov? Arjun asked, looking across at Pharaoh. He's probably still in the main lab, cursing at the Eurasian worker class. Okay, I'm going to say hi to him. Get this report from my father. Arjun turned to Laz. Make sure that everything is unloaded. I'll be back in a few hours. Laz nodded. Don't take too long. We need to make it back before Deaton Mubin makes us fight him again for being late for the last games. Oh yeah, my back still feels that. Riken sighed, rubbing his lower back. It was fun watching him kick your ass, Pharaoh laughed along. Okay, I'll be as quick as I can, but we do have 2 days, Laz, Arjun spoke as he headed up down the ramp. I know, but I don't want to risk it. I'm not fighting him again. A slightly worried look came across Lazar's face, just as everyone started to laugh back at him. So there we go. So that's that little chapter there. So you meet a few of the guys, and yeah, let me know what you think. End of that end, Rise of the Soul. It's going to be a fairly long book, the first book, and there's 4 more in this series, and then another 4 in the next. So you'll understand once you read it. So let me know what you guys think, please. And yeah, have a great Sunday, and look out for my upcoming episodes on Malcolm Bendall and Carl Randallson and their experiments with sacred geometry and all this other kind of stuff, and also Rendlesham Forest Part 3. So look forward to more of this coming, but yeah, please let me know what you guys think. And yeah, I'm terrible at reading stuff, but yeah, there you go. Okay. Right, have a lovely day, peeps. See you later.